to pick back up. It's about to be live
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Yep. And Perky making me hungry, man.
We just went live on Facebook.
Oh, hi everybody. What I say?
All right, so we just waiting, Dr. Mitchell, for our engineer to
Okay.
here we go. Yeah.
Broadcast of Harmony Missionary Baptist Church, led by Pastor A.L. Perkins and located at 4113 Telegraph Avenue in Oakland, California. Visit their website at www.harmonymdc.org. Visit them on Facebook at Harmony MD Church or on Instagram at Harmony MDC. Donations are always welcome and help to keep this radio ministry alive. You can donate by going to Givelify on your smartphone or on their Facebook page. Thank you for listening to Harmony Missionary Baptist Church. Tune in every Sunday morning for Morning Manna at 7 a.m. and Sunday evening at 6 p.m. on KEST 1450 and on the web at kestradio.com.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the One More Time broadcast brought to you by the Harmony Church, 4113 Telegraph Avenue in the great city of Oakland. We're grateful to God again that He has allowed us to come to you one more time, one more Sunday night, and He's blessed us to see the first Sunday of December, and we give Him thanks and praise for that. Truly, God has kept us all. We're grateful that we have made it this far by faith, and we're able to come to you again one more Sunday evening on the One More Time broadcast. Excited tonight because we have a guest with us from Mississippi, and I'm excited. My daddy was from Greenville, Mississippi, so I'm happy to have some distant kinfolk, if you will, on with us today. That being in the person of Dr. F. Bernard Mitchell, who happens to be the pastor of the Zion Hill Church and the late night chair for our National Baptist Convention late night ministry. Dr. Mitchell, will you say hello to the listening audience on tonight?
Oh, hello, everyone on the West Coast and all over the country that's watching in the various different ways of streaming and listening. I want to thank Dr. Perkins for the invitation of joining you all on tonight during these crucial times in which we're living in. And I know he appreciates each and every one of you for listening while ministry is still going on through this broadcast.
And also tonight, I'm grateful for my sidekick. Listen, if Skarsky had Hutch, Laverne had Shirley, Fred had Sanford, man. I mean, Fred had Lamont. Batman got to have Robin.
You been doing it.
Yo, give it up for my co-host Robin tonight.
I'm about to say, what you been doing today, man? Fred had Sanford.
I've been working. That's what I've been doing. Say hello,
all
man.
All right. Hello to all my friends out there in KESTradio.com land 1150. No, I'm sorry. I'm about to get in trouble.
1450
on your radar. I'm sorry, Jesus. Don't get mad. 1450 on your radio dial. I'm here hanging out with my man, Batman. They call me Robin. No criminals, no jokers. They're all in jail because we put them behind bars. But I'm just glad to be here today and to be hanging out with our guest, the one, the only, Pastor F. Bernard Mitchell from Mendenhall, Mississippi. Man, it's just good to be in your presence tonight.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you so much.
And listen, to our listening audience, we will share later on in the show how it really is a blessing to have Dr. Mitchell with us. And that is more than just a saying on this evening. As we always do, Dr. Mitchell, we know this pandemic hit everyone by surprise. We weren't expecting it to go as long as it went, if you will. But be it as it may, we're now, I believe, in our 37th or 36 weeks, something like that we've been on quarantine, national shutdown, if you will, shelter in place. I would like for you to share with us, you being a world-renowned evangelist, when this first hit, were you at home? Were you on the road? what was your first response personally when you got word of how serious this pandemic was?
I was actually in revival that second week in March in Orlando, Florida, with Dr. Larry Mills. I actually was twofold. At the beginning of the week, I sent my wife and a few of my kids that were going because it was their spring break week. They drove down. I had a convention officers meeting there in Jackson that I did about a day and a half with, and I flew there that Tuesday. While we were actually in the meeting that Monday, they were actually coming across the news, shutting down things. While we were actually sitting in there talking, we were setting up for our Congress while we were meeting, talking about it. And while we were talking about it, we had to shift the actual meeting and conversation into talking about what ifs if it actually gets as bad as they're predicting it's going to be. So when I left from there, I got to Orlando. While we were in Orlando, I knew it was serious when they came across the news that day before we left and said they were shutting down Disney and Universal Studios that Saturday. That Saturday or Sunday, that weekend, they were shutting it down. We actually saw how rough it was. That last night when I walked into service to preach, I was supposed to be in Detroit that next week. While I was walking into the office to get ready for that last night, the pastor called and canceled that next week because of what was already transpiring, going on and closing down in Detroit. So I rode with my family back home that Saturday. And by the time we got there, it was just really, a surreal thing of watching everybody, with Florida being a vacation spot and everything. Just the traffic on getting from Orlando just back to Mississippi, it was just a constant steady heavy traffic all the way there of people evacuating, trying to get back home before stuff began to close down.
Wow. And that you go through that process of limited supplies and stores and things like that. Did y'all experience that also where you were?
Yeah, we did. And actually, oddly, we're noticing our stores through this whole thing, even after things actually started opening back up, they've never really gotten fully stocked back up completely. It's still limited and we don't know if it's shipment or anything. They can't get the supply in, but most of our stores still does not have a full stock of anything when you go in there.
Right. So that's how you dealt with it personally. Now, when you get home, I know you're trying to assess, if you will, things for your church, make sure everybody is okay there. How did you go about dealing with it now from a professional side with the people that you steward over?
Well, what we did, but because of seeing it on a national level of different calls of guys across the country, because I say within about a week and a half, it was over a month and a half worth of revivals, week in, week out, right back to back. All were just canceled like that from different parts of the country. So listening to all of their feedback and conversations, I had kind of a more broader view than just within our area and our state. So I immediately started putting forth a plan with a just in case scenario of what was about to happen. So we started that Sunday when I got there, saying what we're gonna do just in case. So and then I just told the church actually that Sunday morning of what we may have to do and everything. And I just had them on ready that when I made the call that we were just shutting down and what we were going to do with it. What we did initially, and it worked out like I had initially actually planned with the what if factor of it working out. My sons and one of my nephews is like my son. They're my musicians. All of them can play. My daughters all sing along with my niece that's like my daughter. So what we initially did, we just went straight Facebook, and it was just us
Okay.
in the sanctuary. We still did live. We still went to the church, but it was just us in there because I didn't want to put any other family in danger.
Right.
That if anybody caught it, if anybody had in contact with each other, it would stay within us, and that's eventually what happened. That it stayed within us because I didn't want to put any other household
Right.
in danger of it for service. With us having, God had equipped us with what we needed to carry service on.
Right. Right. Go ahead, Kurt.
Man, fantastic. Yeah, Pastor. So, how is your city, handling this? We talked a little bit about, what's going on here in Cali. We talked about what's going down there in the South. How do you think your city is negotiating this COVID environment, man?
Southwise, being in that red area, is more so on this way back, and this next wave is more of a slower process of everything. So it's more of a self uh, uh, a session that you have to do now with us here in the South, especially Mississippi, with it being sometime more of a political move right now, with everything on shutting down, on mandatory masks and things. We have about half our counties that our governor have made mask mandatory. Our county is not one of them as of right now, but it's kind of just a self-assessment that you have to make right now because it's more political than it is worrying about the person.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you're a leader there. You're a national guy. Um, so what are the churches in your area doing? What are your pastors talking about? And I heard you say red.
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
yeah. Well, most of our pastors, uh, most of them are still either strictly online. Some are doing parking lot worship to keep people in the cars and everything. We're doing three part. We're open, but right now we open back up beginning of October, and we're only instead of having two services, we're only having still just our 8 o'clock service. And you come in after everything is sanitized. Make sure that it's sanitary. Your masks are required. Just our praise team is singing, so we can do social distancing. If you feel comfortable coming to the sanctuary, you can come in there. We have an FM transmitter that reaches out across the church's parking lot and campus to where you can pull into the parking lot and turn it to the station and listen to it there, where you want to be on the property but you don't feel yet comfortable coming into the sanctuary. And we're doing streaming. So we're doing kind of a three-part, and with the numbers rising back up, we've already talked about kind of a rollback scenario if we have to shut down sanctuary again, on what we'll do on backing up if need be.
Thank you very much. Great answer.
So, Dr. Mitchell, we all have heard of people unfortunately contracting the disease, and we've heard of people that have lost loved ones. We are extremely grateful tonight. One, in the power of prayer, knowing that God still answers prayer, and that we're able to, for real, have this interview with you. As I shared with you earlier, pre-show, that we were on live with Pastor Cordell Fields and his best friend Briggs from Arkansas. And I think you were in the hospital at that present moment, literally battling for your life with COVID. If you don't mind, because unfortunately, some people don't think this stuff is real. They think it's a hoax. think that is not legit. Can you just share with the listening audience tonight what that experience was, excuse me, for you and then for your family?
Yeah, well, as I said, that's how we the Lord led me to set up service. Worst case scenario, that if it did hit, that it wouldn't spread in the household, and that's how it hit. It hit my kids first, but once it hit them, a couple of them got the symptoms that weekend, and went and got tested that Monday, and they had tested positive. Had a few of the symptoms of the fever. Immediately lost their smell and taste and was a little achy. Didn't get too much farther past that. Me and one of my my other daughter, we felt it more in the midweek, and we finally went and got tested. And when we got tested, we were positive. Mine started off, and I was the worst off. Blessedly, none of them had to go to the hospital or anything. After the 2 weeks, they were all negative and bouncing back. Mine kept going down the worst. I spent the first week at home and battling with fever. It felt kind of like pneumonia that I was dealing with. Fever, little congestion, weakness, very weak. Lost the taste and the smell, so really didn't want to eat anything. Didn't feel. My wife was trying to push me to move, and tried to, but really didn't have enough strength. That next weekend, after that week, I got up that Saturday morning, went to the restroom. I quarantined myself in our room. Went to the restroom. When I got to the restroom, breathing just shut down. And barely got out to the living room to wake up my wife and told her I can't breathe. And when I got to the hospital, when she got me to the emergency room, my local emergency room, I was right just a little above 80% oxygen level. And it just went from there. Stayed there Saturday. By Sunday, they finally found me a room in Jackson. Got to Jackson. And by that time, the fever and stuff had left. I just couldn't breathe. It was just the breathing part that was the real battle with me. And I think I spent a couple of days in the regular room, and then they switched me to ICU, and I stayed there. I think my wife told me because it's kind of an in and out thing. They kind of sedated me because at one moment they thought went through a span to where I was having lung failure, and so they were trying to keep me sedated from it. The worst part of the hospital part, other than the sickness, was not being able to be with my family. We're a very close-knit family, always around each other, and not having access to them really was the worst part. For me, it was just the isolation that was mentally hard, and so they did a lot of sedation. My wife told me that they would do, because I would start asking, is there any way she could come in and she could see me even through the machines that they had me on. Never went on the ventilator, blessedly. I went on the APAS or what some new experiment they were trying. That's kind of like a CPAP, but a big, huge version of it that they put you on. They were experimenting to put someone on that before they went to the ventilator. I was on that, and they kept telling my wife that it's possible if I still keep having the lung failure, they were going to put me on the ventilator. And every time they get ready to put me on the ventilator, my oxygen would pick back up enough for me to stay off of it. And so we went through that process. Finally, my breathing started picking back up, and I got into the regular room. Stayed in the regular room maybe a day. They're thinking about getting me to rehab because they tried physical therapy in the ICU before they let me go. I couldn't really do anything besides get up on the side of the bed, get in a chair. I never took any steps in the actual ICU, and the man told me that you're either gonna go to rehab or you're gonna go home. Your oxygen is up high enough to where we can do one or the other. And the night before they made the decision, I was able to take 10 steps across the room, 10 steps back. And they said, if you can do that in the morning, I'll let you go home instead of going to rehab. And so they sent me home to rehab, and I bounced back from there once I got home.
Go ahead, Pastor Curry. Go ahead.
Man, I'm sitting here just looking at some of your pictures on Facebook. I'm seeing that there's one picture, man, it was showing you on with a football under your arm on one side, but they got you in the bed, man, the hospital, man, on the other side. Man, look, Doc, I'm just gonna say this. I want to ask you this question, right? And this is not a theocratic question.
Mm-hmm.
Right, this ain't not like if you love the Lord, you gotta go to whatever. I ain't none. I ain't finna turn to I sin in your heart. Ha, you know you love him. Ha ha. But man, is it worth it? You know, is it worth it to still try to have some kind of freedom in spite of what may or may not happen?
Well, the worth it part with what I do is worth it for trying to help somebody else.
Okay.
That's the worth it part for me. That my job being here and still being here is to help people.
Yeah.
Regardless of what age, male, female, young, old, is to help people. And that part is the part that's worth it. I don't know when mine is going in, but I definitely don't know when theirs is going in. And if I can do something to make sure eternity is a better way for them before they can get to that end, then it's worth it with me.
Okay. All right. There's and the reason I asked that is because I mean we did Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Right. And CDC said don't fly. We flew.
Yep.
And right now, COVID is the number one killer in America. That's why I asked. Now I understand where you were, because I think that when you contracted this virus, we kind of knew what it was, but we really didn't, know what it was, right? Because how long ago was it that you had?
No, mine was July.
Oh, it was in July.
Oh, no,
okay.
mine was July. No, mine was
goodness.
July.
I thought you were talking like March, April here.
No, I'm 5 months out, man. 5 months out.
Okay, so I got a buddy in Detroit, right? He pastors the church up there, and he tested positive for it. I talk to him often, and he says to me, for like the last 4 months, man, I'm about at 90%, right? So how were you doing afterwards?
Better than I was supposed to, than what doctors said. With mine was totally a long battle, and they would never tell me when I actually got to where I could actually talk. They took the machine off, and I just had oxygen, and it was slowly bringing it down off of one machine to the next one till you just had the little tube across. And I was constantly asking them, how bad was my lungs, how bad off, and the only thing I could initially get was that you're doing better now. Don't worry about that. You're doing better now. Finally met a young man, was my nurse. The day I got out of ICU, he was my nurse for those 2 days. He was lived a little bit below where I live at now. So, we made that connection of talking about different things, different people we knew. So finally, I just asked him on that the day when they said, it's good possibility you're gonna go to a regular room today. And when I got him alone, I said, man, tell me how bad my lungs really was. And he said, Reverend, most people have with the x-rays on the chest have a cloudy mist with the COVID that you can see it. He said yours looked like they had took cotton and stuffed both your lungs with. That's how bad yours really was. The pulmonary doctor, before I left, came in cause with it being Jackson, being mean, they had just got an influx of calls on people asking how I was doing. A lot of people that worked there knew who I was. So the pulmonary doctor actually just said that everybody was saying so much that she just went and looked me up to see who it was. So she said she actually sat and looked at the sermon. She said, "You're a good preacher, but you're a hard preacher." And she said that I'm going to tell you the way you preach, it may be the way what your lungs have went through. It's going to be at least a year before you're able to probably even preach like that again, if you're able to preach like that again with all the damage your lungs have went through. And I walked out with that. And so that first week, I just did a little testimony, sat down, still had my oxygen on. Did that for a week. Then the next week, I still sat down on the talk for about 10 minutes here at home. Had the oxygen off. The next week, I went to the church. Still just talked for about 15 minutes. Stood up at that time. That 5th Sunday in August was my preaching anniversary. And President Young called me. He was constantly checking every day on me, along with so many others. But he called me that day and he asked me how I was doing. And I told him, he said, "Well, what's your preaching process?" He said, and I told him, he said, and I said, "That Sunday is my preaching anniversary." And he said, "And you just gonna lecture Sunday?" I said, "No, Doc." I said, "I'm going for a Sunday. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm going for a Sunday." And he said, "Mitch, don't do it." I said, "I'm going for it Sunday, Doc. It's my preaching anniversary. It's on the day that I actually preached, and the Sunday, or 5th Sunday, that I actually preached my first sermon 27 years ago. I'm going for it Sunday." And I went for it and been getting stronger ever since. I got a couple of after effects that I'm dealing with physically, with some pains in different places. But other than that, the Lord just been just kind. And then last Monday, I got released from a pulmonary doctor. Same doctor that said it was going to be over a year. She released me.
Man, that's good. Well, we know that God's a healer. That's a great testimony, my brother. That's a great testimony.
Powerful testimony. Now, I really hate to ask this question, but I don't, because this is a radio show and this is what we do. But your wife was kind enough while you were in to give us weekly, daily updates. And Dr. Mitchell, she said that she knew you was all right. I think when you asked for a slush, a grape slush or something.
A large grape slush from Sonic.
I'm Sonic.
That's great slush from Sonic. Doc, it went viral on Facebook. She was showing me different people was just running the Sonics that if the place area had a Sonic and didn't have a Sonic, they were sending her pictures of them going to get a large grape slush that day. She had posted that on there and sending it to her.
Let me tell you, to the listening audience, the Lord abides in Sonic.
Okay, hold on one second. You know what?
He reigns in that ice.
Setup.
He reigns in that ice. That ice is of God. I'm trying to tell you, that ice is like none other.
I knew it was a setup.
See that
no, it's Lord not. No, it's not.
Bless him, man. Come on and join us.
Listen, yeah. Don't hate.
Hey, submit.
Yeah, come on, be a part. Come on, be a part of it.
Yeah, but my wife, man, she was a champ. Her and my middle daughter, they were just phenomenal. They kept the whole country abreast.
Yeah, they did.
On what was going on, and it was just it was just amazing. Just watching her and both of them work at everything on a day-to-day basis. And then what most people didn't realize was when they brung me to Jackson, which is only 40 minutes away from my house, they didn't go home. They didn't come back to live or stay or spend the night in McGee, Mississippi till I came home with them. They stayed in the hotel. I had one of my sons in the ministry that was so kind. Once he found out that they were just going to stay up there, they weren't going back home. Him and his church took care of anything that they needed at the hotel because they just refused to leave. My wife came to the hospital literally every day. She couldn't get to me. I was on a COVID floor, but she eventually they actually let her talk to the hospital manager. He got her as close as she possibly could. They found the room under my room of where I was located at. That's as close as they could get her. And she would go in that room under me and pray every day.
My God. My God.
Wow.
Wow. Well, listen, we come to our halfway break. Jose, if you don't mind, go ahead and take us out for our break. And we'll be right back after this break. Thank you, Jose. Do that, please.
Ms. C Productions, media service and more.
Great job, Dr. Mitchell. It's going well.
It's
going good. Going good. Oh, Will.
Man, you know what? You got to be a bad dude when your nickname is the state.
Mississippi preacher.
It's like California Kurt. Oh yeah, California Kurt. That nigga bad. You know what I'm saying? Mississippi Mitchell, dude, you a bad dude, bro. I'm gonna kid you in a minute though. I don't know. Should we do it on this, or should we wait for the after show? Right?
I don't know, Doug. How you being led?
Because I don't want no brothers to get mad.
Uh-oh.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got the info box at the National for guys submitting tapes to preach late night.
Oh, please don't. No.
Oh my God. He'd be like having 50 tapes a day. Can I do late night? Can I do late night?
Well, it's modern day. My pastor, Pastor Ray, he had to deal with the CDs and the tape with this modern day era. It's not as bad now, but especially when I first got it that first few years, I would get tagged into so many sermons on Sunday morning and inbox.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, Doc. Inbox into so many different sermons and stuff, Doc. Yeah, it got to a point at one time I just wouldn't go on Facebook none Sunday after I got out of my service.
Oh, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's a good question to ask, though. That is for the people to hear that. How has it been being the president? I mean, the weight of it, though. You know, the weight of it. I mean,
he's not president. He's the chairman of late night.
That's what I'm saying. That's
what you saying. You know
that's
what?
A weight.
You know what?
Weight in itself.
Don't go there. Don't do it.
Don't do what?
Don't say that, man. Who the president of the National?
Dr. Jerry Young.
Yeah,
right.
You should. I ain't saying that, Dr. Young. I did not say that. That was him. Look at he going. Doc, if you haven't noticed, we have as much fun on this show as we can, bro.
And that's a good thing, man. Everybody needs to laugh right now. Yeah,
yes,
they need their relief of laughter.
That's why he grabbed me he was like, yeah, Kurt, laugh. Joke. Play it. He like to play. This is cool, man. You got, man, how many kids you got?
All right.
We're
back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the One More Time broadcast brought to you by the Harmony Church. We just having a good time of Koinonia fellowship, if you will. And we're grateful tonight to be coming to you on the first Sunday of the year. God has blessed us to make it to this point, and we are happy to have with us the Triple M man, the Miracle Mississippi Messenger. Dr. F. Bernard Mitchell, who is with us. I pray you heard his testimony, how the Lord raised him up, and how you just heard how his wife was. I'm telling you now, I'm gonna preach it. I'll be sure to give y'all credit for it. I'm going to use it in a message very soon. She was underneath praying while he was on top. Yeah, we gonna make it work. But we're grateful tonight, with all jokes aside, to not be having a virtual memorial or have had a funeral for our brother, but we're grateful that God brought him through to show that there's still power in a living Savior and that he is a walking miracle. And I believe that testimony in itself during a time like this of this pandemic is really showing that God is still showing himself mighty and showing himself strong. So we're grateful that you consented tonight to be our guest by blessing us with your presence and with your testimony tonight to be on the One More Time broadcast. And also, we're grateful to have always my sidekick, Pastor Kurt, with us tonight. So, with that said, the grape slush is going to go viral. I may go get one tonight, but I definitely
go get it, Dow.
I'm gonna get one tomorrow. Sonic is holy and of God. But Pastor, you said something that was rather rich, and I would ask if you would just expound on it a little bit. Kind of just give some may not know, how you started, where you started. I heard you say you've been pastoring, preaching 27 years, and you just had an anniversary. What was it, the 5th Sunday of August? I think you said.
Yeah, my preaching anniversary, right?
Yeah, preaching anniversary of 27 years. And can you just share where your home church was at, where you started? And by the way, Dr. J. Roy Morrison told me to tell you hello.
Hello.
from Florida. He's also been on the show. Him and the one and only Marvin, honorary member Marvin E. Wiley.
Oh my Lord.
Has blessed us with his presence. But can you just share, where you started preaching? Was it a struggle for you, or is preaching in your family? Did you want to be a preacher? I mean, just kind of talk about that just a little bit.
Well, I come from a family of preachers. I didn't come from a preaching family. My dad wasn't a preacher. He was a very faithful deacon and friend to preachers. But I come from a preacher's family on my mother's side. On that Chapman side, as most people know, me and Tellis are cousins. And I grew up in that preaching family realm. I was always around preachers all of my life. No, I didn't want to preach because I around them. Saw how much they went through because I was always close to them and always around them. When I got old enough and was able to drive, I always drove them around. Started preaching at my home church, Good Old Baptist Church in Hickory, Mississippi. I was 20. I ran for 5 years, was called when I was 15. Tried to stay away from it and finally had to submit at age 20.
Hold on, wait, stop.
His story sounds like mine.
Wait. You start preaching when you really start feeling the call at 5 years old?
He said 15.
Oh, then you said 15. Oh, man, I was like, hold on 1 second.
At 5, I was with all of my cousins. When we played church, I was the preacher then.
Okay.
It was on you.
I knew it was something.
I was the preacher then. Oddly, when you say childhood and preaching, my mother, who's going to be with the Lord now, as a boy, I would take my daddy's TV table, dinner tray, and I would get the little children's Bible that they had given me. I would get right in front of the TV doing soap opera stories, times of all my children and One Life to Live and all of that. I was staying right in front of the TV and preach to my mama.
Wow.
She would never tell me to shut up. She would never tell me to get out the way.
Awesome.
However long I wanted to holler and hoop, she would just sit there, just like she was the congregation, sit there and never say nothing. Her best friend, my cousin Opafor, would call and would ask, "What are you doing?" And she would just say, "Listening to Bernard preach." And I'd get louder so Kanofa could hear me. So,
yeah.
Even at that childhood age, I was doing that. But I started at 20. Preaching, the start was not a struggle, per se, because I came from that preaching family. So I had doors opened up for me, especially being around them all the time. Senior pastors and stuff already knew me growing up, so they gave me that opportunity. But it was pressure because you came from a preaching family.
Right.
So they wasn't expecting you to be the average start off preacher. So you had the pressure of being prepared even before you knew how to be fully prepared on going in, because it was a high expectation level coming from the family that I had came from. The struggle part with me in the beginning of my ministry was the pastoring side. I had to get a reality check with pastoring. I started pastoring 4 months after I started preaching. But the problem was that by the time I got around to be knowledgeable of the pastoring side of my family, they were already senior pastors that had been there 25 and 30 and 35 years. So traveling with them as a teenager, they was the pastor. Their word was law. You know, they had some trouble. They didn't have to do a whole bunch with it. They just set people down, talk with them, and it was over with and everything. They respected them as pastors. So I walked in thinking that that's just how it was supposed to be. And my first church quickly taught me you have to earn that. And so while trying to figure that out, and the Lord telling me before I preached my first sermon, that Saturday when I went off in my mama's dirt pit in practice, that sermon that Saturday evening by myself.
In the what pit? In the what
the
pit?
Dirt pit. My mama had a dirt pit where she sold dirt at, and it was oddly a little podium of dirt together that I used as a podium that day. And I preached that sermon. And while walking back home, the Lord spoke to me and said, when I send you to pastor, that's all you do. And that was before I hit the pulpit. 4 months later, I was called to my first church. And the struggle is that I had to figure out there's another side of being a senior pastor. And there's a work ethic and dues to pay and everything. And so that was the hardest struggle on getting the pastor side going. I was already preaching everywhere. My first year, I did 17 revivals. So wow. I was already preaching. I preached my, by the time it was a month between July 29th, I confessed. August 29th, I preached my first sermon. And between that month, before I even went into the pulpit to preach my first sermon, I already had a Sunday program book and a revival book. I preached my first sermon the 5th Sunday, started my first revival that Monday night. So wow. Preaching took off, but pastoring was the struggle. And so I had to mature into that with patience on learning dues and appreciation. Hindsight, I appreciate it because now if one of my members give me a bag of chips, I appreciate it. And I'm grateful and thankful for it. But if it would have started off like I thought it was going to start off, now I would look at that bag of chips and think, why you give me a bag of chips? Right. But because of the struggles I had to go through, I understand now the appreciation.
Got it. Go ahead, Kurt.
Man, you're like shot out of a cannon, man. Perk, he's like, I got called to preach, and 4 months later, I was pastoring.
That's
I'm
amazing.
thinking about myself. I started preaching at 19, right? Like, oh Lord have mercy, that would have been a disaster. I'm just telling and knowing now. They were like, what that boy doing? What is he doing? He full of himself. Doc, I remember when I first got to Bishop, Ralph West was pastoring his church in Dallas, Texas, Fruitful Baptist Church. Right. And so, Ralph now, West, Ralph Douglas West, right? The man, right?
Right.
Houston. And it's interesting. I heard him preach recently, and he was saying that these young cats are growing up going like, yeah, Doc, I want to be like you. I want to do like what you did. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Right. And then he said, yeah, you might want to do that, but you don't know the story.
Right.
You don't know how I got here, man. You talked about, some of the difficulties. Could you share that with our listening audience, especially if we got some young pastors, some young preachers that are out there? Because I know what they're going. They talk about.
What one of the struggles is that I had to learn patience. You can come with a plan, God can give you the vision, but you have to figure out, especially when you're a young pastor, you got to figure out that before they can buy into the plan, they got to trust the man.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes trust, that takes time. You don't have to get older, but you got to show your maturity level spiritually and on the secular side. That they got to trust you. Once they trust you, you can say we're gonna do this and they're gonna follow you. But that part takes trust. I don't care how smart you are, how much education you got, and how well you know what you're doing is what you're doing and what you're supposed to do. You got to be patient enough to take that trust. And a lot of times now, we just don't have the patience to deal with that with that trust issue, because in that trust issue, it's going to come with some battles. It's going to come with some power struggles. That because some people that's been running that thing for the last 20 years, once they see people trusting you, when trust is getting into you, power is being lost from them. And they see that, so they're going to fight that as much as they possibly can. And you got to learn how to walk to be firm, but yet be sensitive all at the same time, because you can't fight back like they fight back. Right. They fight like that. They just mad. You fight back like that, you're a bully. And so then if they become defensive on saying you were right, but you didn't have to do them that way. So you have to wait for the time for God. The sermon I preached this morning was about Zacharias talking with Gabriel. And the first point I dealt with was that Zacharias' doubt came in was because he didn't like the season of the answering of the prayer. That Gabriel said, I came to answer your prayer. He didn't shout. He didn't get happy. He said, I'm old now. And now you finna do, how you gonna do this? And I'm old. In other words, he was really saying, I asked this years ago, and you didn't come. So I done gave up on it. Now you want to come and answer. And sometimes we get frustrated. We don't want to wait in the season of when God is gonna put the church in your hands for you to lead them.
That was rich. That was rich. That was rich. You know, we had E.O. Branch on here, man. And
oh my God.
Yeah, you know, he changed our minds about a whole bunch of stuff. And Doc, he said this one thing, and I'll just tell it to anybody and everybody. He was talking about this revival that he was running, and you know, he was young, and the pastor was like, "What's wrong with you?" You know, he's like, "Nothing," right? You know, he had been where he's at for 10 years. And then the pastor said, "You know, something wrong." He said, "Well, I've been thinking about leaving where I'm at. Maybe I've outgrown this assignment." You know, and he said the pastor told him, he said, "Son, the church that you're looking for is right where you're at."
Yeah.
And he ended up being there 42 years.
Yep.
So I concur, brother, with what you just said about the patience piece. Pastor Perkins.
Man, he's over here killing us. He said, buy into the plan and trust the man. Your fellow Mississippian native, Joseph Manaway.
Oh yeah.
Little Joe Manaway, whose father is from Mississippi. He quoted that what you just said. No. He quoted, preaching took off, but pastoring was the struggle. Yeah. That was a profound word. I wanted to, I had it written down. I'm trying to find it. Let's just talk real briefly. We have about 12 minutes left on this part of the show, and then we'll take, when we go off the air at 7, we'll take a few questions from the Facebook audience and do that. But if you're feeling good, you all right?
I'm fine, Doc. I'm fine.
All right. I want you to kind of explain or just share. Some people just see late night, if you will, and they see you preach President's Night. Can you just share the load that it is having to be sensitive to hear the Lord speak, to choose the right people for the right week, the right place, at the right time, and an honor it is to be the chairman, but it's really a really serious position that comes with a lot of weight on it. Can you just kind of expound on that?
Yeah. It's humbling to be chosen to be that. Just to be among those that's just been there. Originator C.L. Franklin, Dr. Jasper Williams, uh, E.J. Jones, who helped, including me, preachers all over the country. I was introduced to late night through Dr. E.J. Jones, and started actually working behind the scenes quietly with him and Dr. Arthur Hughes as his co-chair. Then my pastor that actually placed me on his staff, and worked Dr. Frank Ray, and then my cousin kind of working as an advisory role with him. His 5 years of having it, just to be in that number of those preachers like that is humbling within itself. But the load of it is that late night is actually the worship experience for the convention during that session. You have preaching in different areas, but folks just like to have church. And so you're the one that's leading people into worship on that national stage and level. Our spot of being there with being the historical originator of late night even carries more weight. Out of all other denominations that have it now, all other conventions, even now, when you speak of late night chairman, the first convention and position and person you think of is National Baptist USA. And so that's a weight, and people are watching for that. So you don't go with the popular person. You don't pick them just called, they're crisscrossing the country, they're on the circuit, they're doing it. You have to be sensitive on who fits where, at what city, at what time, who needs to be there. It's not a pick and choose type thing. It is with me, it is a spirit led thing, because I just don't want a guy that I want to give them a fair shot. That's why I try to blend it with younger preachers to give them a chance. Somebody had to give me a chance on that national level. Seasoned preachers that I know are going to help the two people. That's going to be a good combo with one another. That'll be a good combination, that one won't overshadow the other, that the two styles of preaching that night goes together with each other, that not only will they be exposed, but people that's there and watching gonna get help. So that's a big responsibility. And then it's guys like across the country, like you guys and stuff. Y'all come there looking for evangelists. You come there looking for citywide preachers, and so it becomes a load on me to try to introduce you to somebody that I believe that could handle that spot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Pastor Kurt. We got about 7 minutes left.
Okay, yeah, I mean that was getting good, man, because I remember I read a book called Lord of the Dance, right, written by Andrew Greeley, who's a Catholic theologian and priest, right, and he writes about the underbelly of the Catholic Church, man, and to hear you start talking, right, as the deeper you get, right, to talk about that thing, the political process and aspiration or the political platform must be acute. How do you personally, manage that, and how do you prayerfully manage that and try to help guys who think that the political process is more important than the spiritual process?
What I tell guys when guys ask me, how do I get a chance to do this? How I get a chance to do that? I only thing I can tell them with me, I didn't do a lot of asking. My family, started that telling me, if you got to ask, you don't need to be doing it. They taught us your gift make room for you, but you got to be in the place to where you can be asked to do something. In other words, you got to be willing to serve. Before I even got on the stage, before I did anything in front of a crowd, My mama taught me at a young age, you're supposed to sit on the front row. And the worst whooping I got in church was trying to get out of the choir stand and go to the back to the church with the rest of the kids. And I just instinctively go to the front when I go to church. And even as a young preacher, friends of mine that we grew up, that we started off with and everything, we come into late night or come into a Manuel Scott's class or the minister's division to hear Dr. Clark and Dr. Pat. They stop, we walking, they talking, they stop and sit in the back. I'm still walking. I'm going to the front. So when they asked somebody to hand out papers, I wasn't too big to hand out a paper. I just got up, grabbed the paper, started handing it. And eventually handing the paper turned into, okay, pray over this offering. And pray over this offering turned into, okay, open us up with prayer. Okay, sing this song and everything. But it started off with you just want to serve. And so many come just looking to try to figure out how to get on stage, that you ain't on stage because you ain't figured out how to serve.
Yeah, it's a good way to pay your dues. That helps.
Exactly. You got to carry some suitcases. You got to sit in a room and be quiet. I got a friend. One of the things that bothers him the most is when a young preacher comes in and senior pastors are sitting there talking, and they come in and sit down. Doc. It just goes all over him. And if you don't watch it, he'll snap if you catch him at the right moment, because he knows that we didn't do that and we couldn't do that. If you were even allowed in the room, you sat there and been quiet and soak in everything you can. If you had a question to ask, you ask whoever got you in that room when everything was over with, that you asked it. But you don't jump into the conversation unless they pull you into the conversation.
Yeah. We got trained by guys like Dr. Abraham Henry Newman.
Right.
Man, Dr. Newman was like, before I started pastoring, he'd be like, Robinson, good. Your office is downstairs. The pastors, we meet up here. Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. Exactly. I'm good, man. That's a great answer, man. I appreciate that.
We'll continue that definitely on the after show, because I think there's some more nuggets that these young preachers can hear about that serving aspect. But what I would like to do, Dr. Mitchell, we have about 3 minutes left on the live radio. If you could just leave some encouraging words to our listening audience on the radio, and then leave where you can be found. If you have any social media platforms, just share that. But just leave some words of encouragement for the listening audience, if you would.
I think my biggest one is what we talked about when I first got on tonight in the pre-show on setting up everything. My biggest thing this weekend, the state championship of working with our football team, just a great, wonderful group of young men that I really needed at this time to on some things that God showed me that I could still do, and to move that doubt and that fear within myself on bouncing back from this. But it really hit me while we were on the bus riding into Jackson on where exactly I was going to. I was around the corner from the place I almost died, and fought a battle there. And now going in with these boys to where they're super talented, but was underestimated the whole season. And we constantly had to encourage them from the summer we started with them all the way now, that you just got to believe that you got the ability and the strength to believe in yourself, and you're going to win it. Both battles ended up in a win. I just stood on the field at the end of the game when it was over with and just started crying, because I knew that it was a win on both ends. And only thing that was on my mind was the fact that if I can win, somebody is battling something that's not COVID. That they're battling something that's in their house. They're battling something in their career, in their relationships. They're battling something that's not a virus that's going in their body, but it's a virus that's going through their life right now. And God has the ability to allow you to win. You just got to keep fighting. Just keep being who he made you to be. I didn't do nothing different. I didn't do anything strange. I just kept trying to be the best Bernard Mitchell I could possibly be. And the Lord kept blessing Bernard Mitchell for just being Bernard Mitchell. And somebody just need encouragement to know you don't have to change lanes. You don't have to be something different. You ain't got to be anybody else. You just be who he designed and made, created you to be. And sooner or later, you're going to win your battle. You're going to come out on the other side, and you're going to come out not just with a testimony, but you're going to come out stronger. And just like, as I said this morning with Zachariah and Elizabeth and John, that we talk about one miracle of John being born, but you're really talking to three miracles. You're talking to John being born was a miracle because of the miracle that an old woman carried him for 9 months, and then an old man got him when he was there, and he wasn't able to even talk. He was dumb, couldn't talk, but yet he was still being used. And so if God can do that with them, and if God can do this with me in a 5-month span that they gave me over a year prediction of struggle, he can do the same thing with you.
Amen. Amen.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from him himself, Dr. F. Bernard Mitchell. Thank you for chiming in with us on the One More Time broadcast, brought to you by the Harmony Church, 4113 Telegraph Ave, Oakland, California. Thank you for your time. I hope you've had a blessed time, and catch us next time. I'm out. God's blessings be upon you. To our listening audience, now we want to thank you for chiming in on the radio. Now we are to our after show, which is now not called Perk's Feeble Thoughts. It's called the Perk and Kurt Show, where we continue.
That sounds dangerous.
Percolating.
We continue the conversation with our guests, and tonight we're grateful to have on the Perk and Kurt Show Dr. F. Bernard Mitchell from Mendenhall, Mississippi, pastor of the Zion Hill Baptist Church, and the late night chair of a late night of the National Baptist Convention USA, Dr. Jerry Young. And we are grateful to just have this dialogue. I would love, Pastor Mitchell, if you could kind of just, you touched on it a little bit about the importance of serving. Can you just share, I'll do it this way. Can you share some nuggets with a young preacher or a young pastor, either just some words of wisdom or possibly some good books you can recommend for a young preacher or a young pastor that he needs to have in his library?
Well, books wise, you need books, some books on sermon building, sermon preparation. You need to study that wisely. Find you a preacher that you can study. When I say study, I don't mean you can imitate. I mean, you can get their material, you can study it, you can see how they approach a text, you can see how they apply the text, you can see how it's arranged. Find you that preacher, not that excites you, but that preacher that you feel like that is familiar to you, meaning that you feel as if that style is something, that approach is something that could be you. There's most young preachers that I know personally, especially my sons in the ministry, majority of them, I've told them to go and study and get material from certain preachers when I see it in them. I don't just tell them to watch me or talk with me or study with me. Find you the person that fits you, and their approach of the text fits you. We all do it differently. So find what fits you. Get you a good commentary. I love the writer of I just had a brain burp of John Butler. I love writings of John Butler. I read John Butler avidly. I love his writing. After him, I love MacArthur's commentary. I study him very much. Find you commentaries. Find you good study habits. When it comes to serving, don't find you somebody that you think can get you somewhere. Don't serve somebody that's where you trying to get to and you think they can help you get there, open the door for you. That ain't who you serve. You serve somebody that you know two things. I can make their load easier, and in making their load easier, they can help my walk get stronger. That just by talking with them, you ain't got to introduce me to nobody. You ain't got to open no doors. You ain't got to recommend me to preach anywhere or recommend me to a church. Find you somebody that you know I can be a help to them, not overrun them, not tell them what to do, not trying to become their predecessor, but somebody you know that you can give help to. And while you're giving help to them, they're strengthening you. That I still, when I go to Memphis, Tennessee, because after my father in the ministry died, when I went to Memphis, Tennessee, and the Lord led me and my wife to join New Salem. When I go to New Salem, I'm not Dr. Mitchell, I'm not Mississippi Mitchell, I'm not Chairman Mitchell, I'm Frank Ray's son. And I came to serve. I came to sit at his feet. I came to do what needed to be done for him while I'm there in his presence. Service becomes, in other words, I've been preaching 27 years. Come January, I've been pastoring 27 years. And I still am a servant when I get in the presence of my pastor. That you never stop being a servant, because when you stop being a servant, you stop being a leader.
Wow.
That's rich.
That is rich. Go ahead, Kurt.
So I'm surprised you hadn't asked this question yet. So I guess
go ahead. Yeah, you do it. You do it. You can do it.
So Pastor Mitchell. So we ask this question to everybody that comes on the show.
Yes.
And this is the question: what are your thoughts with pastors who may have problems preaching a gospel that tends to elevate social justice?
I have no problem with that. I have no problem with pastors preaching social justice. I do think that needs to be your gift.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does not have that gift. You can mention social justice, but everybody can't center a whole sermon around social justice and then tie it in with a text correctly. You got to know your gifts and your limitations. If you have that ability, Ralph West does as well, but Freddie Haynes has that ability. He has that gift of doing that. Tellis Chapman has that gift. He's going to put social and civic justice in that sermon somewhere whenever he stands. It's a natural gift. Don't force it. They don't get a sermon together just to hit Donald Trump. They don't get a sermon together just to hit what's going on in Congress or in the Senate. They have the gift of being able to take a text, studying the text, preaching the purity of the text, and then tying social justice into it. So I have no issue with that. My thing is that don't get up and you spent 40 minutes talking about social justice, but because that's not your gift, you done read a scripture and had said a word about it.
Oh, no, that's a different subject matter.
He was chasing the rabbit.
Shall we?
Right. So you got to have that gift in order to be able to do that. Not just beat on social justice. You got to have the gift to be able to tie the two in together to where I leave getting the scripture that I need, but I also leave getting the knowledge of where I am as a citizen of where I need to be at.
So is it safe to say to the young preacher, more so young pastor, that we all have this platform every week that most don't normally have, that even if you know that you're not, social justice is not your primary thing that you normally handle, you still should be able to speak intelligently about the matter,
Oh yes.
and share some words about it,
Oh
even if
yes.
you don't preach on it, but you should not be silent about it at all.
No. The worst thing that we've done, we got tricked into thinking that the church is not supposed to have a voice of what goes on in our community, in our city hall, in our state capitol, and at the White House. That we got tricked into that with them offering us grant money, with telling you and tricking you into without looking at what the wording actually said, that if you get this 501c3, you can't endorse candidates, you can't talk about this and everything, which when you read the actual reading of it, that's not really what it says and states that you cannot do. That was the way of making us silent, because that's where our power came from. Our power did not come from City Hall and come to the church. It left the church and went to City Hall.
Right.
And so they want us now to stop that voice, because you know, if you stop the voice, we've just made that community weaker.
That's rich. Man, you opened up a bag of worms, man. So let's go ahead. Can we get back to the late night piece?
Oh.
You're like, wow. So Doc, I'm not gonna say it, but did your popularity rise, man, when you became like chairman of late night?
It did to a certain degree. It did to a certain degree. Guys asked, did you pick up revivals? I was already doing 40 plus revivals.
Really?
So it didn't pick it up as I expect, but now some more calls, yes. But it's only so many weeks in a year that you can do revivals. but yeah, popularity does soar. People that used to walk past you when you're walking through the hallways of the convention now wants to stop, speak, take a picture, do that type thing, which I promise you, I don't mind one single bit. That doesn't bother me. That I appreciate you, that you think enough of me for that, regardless if your motive is pure or whatever. But just for you to think that I'm worthy of you to stop and want to say hello to me, I have no problem with that whatsoever. I'm humbled by and more than happy to do it, because I was done that way. The first, outside of my family, the first, just national preacher that I ever really spoke to was Manuel Scott. It was in Birmingham.
Senior or junior?
Senior. In Birmingham, Alabama. We were, the convention was there. And I was standing in the hotel lobby, probably looking lost as a jaybird. And he just walked up and spoke to me and said, "Hey, young man, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing good, Dr. Scott. How you doing?" And everything. He said, "What you doing?" I said, "Nothing. I'm just standing here right now." He said, "Well, come on, there's a convention going on." And we walked over to the session together. And I watched him, stop everybody that wanted to speak. He stopped, spoke, talked to, and everything. And I did what I was taught. I quietly stood there and everything. And we talked when nobody else stopped and speaking and conversed. And we walked into the session. And when we got to the session, he said, "Okay, young man, thank you for walking with me. I enjoyed you." I went and sat down, and he walked on stage. And that meant the world to me. So anybody that wants to stop and say hello with me, talk to, I count it as an honor. I count it as a privilege, never as a nuisance to me. My kids earlier was just making jokes about walking with me and Pastor Ray and Tellis through the convention center on how long it takes for them to get back to the hotel room walking with us, because we're going to stop and speak to people.
That's great, man. That's fantastic.
Man, I gotta put this plug in. Pastor Bertrand Maurice Bailey Jr.
Yeah. That's my brother.
He says, "How do you get to be so cool?" Now, to our listening audience, I will chime in to what Rodney Leggett said. We're grateful tonight to have two COVID survivors actually on at the same time. Pastor Bertram Bailey just got over COVID.
Right.
Wow,
And
Right.
dude. Wow.
Dr. Mitchell has also. So Bertrand, I'll be calling you soon to have you come on and be a blessing to us, man. We're grateful that you're back up and feeling better. One question that it did come through: how should churches pursue grant money? That's what the question is.
Yes. Yes. You should pursue the open doors there. You should pursue. What I personally believe is that your grant money should not be your foundational finance. The way your grant money is your aid to the ministry that you're trying to do. It assists, but it's not your foundation. And what I mean in that, to where you have a foundation that's already financially set, that if they choose or the president comes in and that administration pulls the grant money you get, that ministry don't die. That you keep pressing, you just miss that extra that you got in it. But go after it if you can get it. The only thing it takes is paperwork, doing it correctly. But don't let it be the basis, because I've seen churches across the country that was striving those years while they were getting the grant money, but when they lost the grant money, that ministry that they were doing that was helping that community so well failed and died because they didn't have another basis for it to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's good. That's good. That's good. So I don't know why I'm meddling, man. So my pastor is Dr. Alvin Bernstein.
Okay, yeah, very, yeah.
Yeah, and so he's raked me over the coals. Enough. How about that?
I know Burn had. Yeah.
and still will if he feel like it, right? If he catch me doing something on YouTube. What other type of initiatives are you looking to push? I mean, obviously you have a great responsibility. If we look at it seriously, right? You have a great responsibility that God has given you, man, as a torchbearer for this word, right? That we know must be declared. This good news that must be heard, right?
Yeah.
It must be preached, right? And that's the praxis of it, is that it's good news. Do you also assist in other areas when it comes to helping preachers, when it comes to the convention, like setting up classes, preaching classes, writing classes, anything like that?
Well, I work with conferences, workshops that invite me to come and work with them. I work with them through the years. We have one coming in next month that we all go to and work with Dr. Adolph and his inheritance.
Inheritance, that's right.
Right, it's kind of different this year, but virtual, but he got it set up in an awesome way. It's I think it's 21, 22 of us starting that first Sunday night and goes through that Friday. Nothing but preaching directly about Jesus on the book. We all had the ability, the opportunity of adding our own segment into his book that's about him, and that's the name of the book. And so anybody that does offer me an ask, and I'm open, I'm more than willing to do it. I do a lot of chaplain work lately, not only with our local football team, my fraternity of Phi Beta Sigma, do a lot of chaplain work there with the police, do some chaplain work. I've never been a person in life and in ministry to do a lot of looking or asking. My one of my seminary instructors said, and it stuck with me, that you just don't hunt for work to do. If you're a preacher, God got work for you to do, and you ain't got to hunt for it. It's gonna find you. And so if anybody asks me to do anything and I'm able to do it, I'm more than happy, willing to do it, and able to do it if I can to the best of my ability, put my whole heart into it. So whatever doors open, that I'm more than happy to do it.
What is this blue stuff you got on, sir?
Oh, that's the best colors in the world.
Hey man, you about
That
to
is
get in
the
trouble.
best picture you done put up there all night. That picture right there, just because of the person that's standing beside me, made the picture.
Who is that?
And all that blue that's
Who is
on
that?
What's that blue stuff?
And man, that's the Royal family there.
Is that the Bishop Blue?
No,
that's the Bishop Blue. You know, Azure, the best school in the union
blue,
is.
buddy.
I'll start singing. Don't make me start singing.
The only constituted brother and sister fraternity. It is.
Like
my whole
sister. My sister's a Zeta.
No.
Oh really? All right.
Yeah.
See, you got a good sister. That's your favorite sibling, ain't it? Go on, tell
my pastor.
Yeah, would she feel like it?
My pastor is a Q. Claiborne Lee. He's a Q.
Yeah, we ain't gonna hold that again. He didn't know what he was doing back then. He wasn't as saved as he was now. He wasn't
What's interesting though about this is that we don't see where you are, Doc. It's heavy in the South.
Oh yeah.
And Kirk, you can back me up on this.
Mm-hmm.
Greek is not really heavy in the West. It's not. Now people will come. They may have pledged in the South and come back, and then but we don't have a lot of guys that, I mean, it's a few chapters out here. I've been debating on what I was gonna do, but
But you got the picture. You know what to do. Don't listen to Clay. Ain't a dog in you no more. You don't listen to Clay.
Oh man, he said you got the picture. Yeah, man, just pledge grad chapter, man. Just
right.
Grad chapter.
Oh man.
Yeah. Right. Or just go back to Oxford, man. Go pledge Oxford.
I'll go back to Oxford.
Yeah. But it is very strong in the South, college life and after college life is very strong. A lot of churches in the South, one of their bigger days that they have now is Greek and Masonic Sunday.
Okay.
Greek and Masonic.
They come out the woodwork.
You about to start something now, dude.
Yeah, because it's big. It is a main thing in the South.
He said Greek and Masonic.
Yeah. Well, this newer age is not, but most people that I would say between 40 and mid 40s on up, most of them that they're both.
Mm-hmm.
That they're both. That it was a thing in my family when I was growing up. Once you got old enough to be a Mason, that was your next step.
Okay.
Wow.
Being a Mason, and then if you got the ability and opportunity to go to college, the next question was, after you got that degree, did you play it something? What you played?
Wow.
Yeah, my whole family is blue. My whole family.
Why is your whole family blue?
Well, they saw me and my wife, and then my younger ones grew up in it because it was a family oriented. That you have youth auxiliaries and everything. So it was at one time before some of my kids had that transition from high school into college and everything. There was at one time that everybody in the house was either in a youth auxiliary or was a Sigma or Zeta.
Wow.
Everybody was blue somewhere. And so we could all do it together as a family.
Wow.
Amazing. So my bishop blue don't count?
The what? What you say?
I said my bishop blue don't count.
Is the school still open? Huh? What?
Hey man, you better back up, man. No, it's Paul Quinn College now.
Listen, finally we get somebody on here that's not a bishop alum. Now
He couldn't
I do
wait.
respect Bishop though. I respect Bishop to the highs. I do.
I just wish they
Even
would have.
while it's gone,
They
since it's
would have
gone, I
stayed
respect
open,
it.
man. I wish they would have stayed. I could have been.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could have
yeah.
been singing the blue with you, bro. See, that's
Yeah,
all.
Ah,
that
Look.
was a jewel that was lost.
I'm,
That was
yeah.
totally lost.
listen, Kurt. I'm blue too. I come from Compton, the Crip side.
That's it. Oh, he is from Compton, bro.
Straight out of Compton,
It's not.
213,
It's
bro.
not. We ain't throwing no shade on that one. Dude,
Pastor,
fantastic.
you mentioned something that I think I would love. I think the people would even love to hear more about. You talked about chaplaincy, and you talked about what you did, what you do for the football team. Just kind of expound on that. Expound on this picture right here. I had no idea, that you knew. I mean, let me tell you something. You can testify to this. When people see that you pastor, that's all they think we can do. They don't think we've ever been able to do anything else but carry a Bible, stand behind a mic, and preach. But some of us were some great athletes. You know what I'm saying? We were good back in our day. But just explain your relation, what this picture right here means to you. And some people probably never even knew that you had connections like this.
Yeah, well, I've done it the last 2 years. I've actually off and on came and done devotionals for the football team, but the coach that's there now, he been here 3 years. His second year, he asked me, well, after his first year really season, he asked me would I come on as a chaplain. I go in. This year I've been more hands-on because I hadn't did any traveling or anything. Been there for every practice. Do personal counseling, staff and players on personal issues, dealing with discipline. We've had some good administrators that sometimes before they actually get in trouble, for as office-wise in trouble, they send word to the coach. Coach gives word to me, and I sit down and talk with them about what has transpired, maybe in class or anything, dealing with some issues, home issue, family issues. Then do that devotional part of it when they doing pregame, but also across the week if needed. With everything, I ended up this year doing a little more dealing with some of our special team and everything. That's where the picture comes in at. That's the kickoff ball and the kickoff stand that I'm holding in the back of my hand there, working and dealing with them. Me and the head coach, we started off mutual respect for each other, grew to friends, and now we're really brothers, real close to each other. Through the years, now a couple of years, we became really close and everything. But it's just been wonderful just to be able to see the aspect, and a lot of things that really help with these kids is what you just said. They got to see me. They've always known me growing up here as a pastor, but they got to see me outside of the suit.
Right.
And so these last couple of years, they've got to deal with the actual person and see, he can talk more about than just what he talks about on Sunday morning. Then give a sermon. He can actually hold a conversation. He can joke. He can laugh. He can talk. And it really brought them down to a level to where they felt comfortable talking to me about different personal issues and things.
Right. Can you explain? It's no shock that our country has gone through some racial tension, and I'm seeing in this picture that's a white coach behind you.
Yeah, that's the head coach right behind
Right.
in the gray.
Okay, and so I see that's a white player also. Can you kind of explain? Can you explain? How you had by being a counselor, being a chaplain. I don't know whether or not it was some tension that you did see, or if you had to do proactive counseling to help out with racial tension. But how did you deal with that? Just to kind of keep peace amongst the team, because if it's a messed up locker room, you got a messed up field, if you will. messed up team. And so I know somehow, some way, you had to play a huge role in all that's been going on in America, you know, all the shootings and things like that.
Right.
You know, did you give them an opportunity to express themselves, or how are you led to deal with that?
Well, this summer, before we got sick, we dealt with that issue, especially with George Floyd and things going on that we talked about those different things. Let them express how they felt. We had conversations open about how they felt about it. Honestly, with this group of guys, it was never really an issue.
Good.
We worked with each other, we talked with each other, and I think one of the biggest thing is as you see everybody that got the hats on, or the long sleeve that's not closed, that not the ones holding the sign. You see me right beside young white gentleman that was our offense coordinator, 25 years old. Actually went to a private school, one of the stronger private schools here in Jackson area. He grew up there. Wonderful young man. The young man that's down by number 2, strength and conditioning, 23 years old. Him and my oldest son grew up together. I watched him grow up, military recruiter now. Next to him was our defensive coordinator, son of a coach, great mind, great guy. Next to him, 25-year-old young man from Grenada, Mississippi. This is his first year coaching. Wonderful young man. If you look beside number 33, that's the running back coach. She is the only female high school football coach in the state of Mississippi.
Wow.
She was the first one this year, and she got to be on the state championship team. Wonderful young lady, did a wonderful job. And when they saw that mixture, and as you said, stated the coach was a white guy, they saw us, it never became an issue. Mm-hmm. We worked together. We talk, and we didn't avoid the conversation. You know, we talk, and then we joke with one another on different stereotypes and things. And when they saw us gelling together as people, not as black man, white man, black woman, they saw us dealing with each other as people, then they saw each other as brothers. And the one thing we push, that you are more than a team, you're family.
That's right.
And you love each other as family, and that's exactly what they did.
That's right. Go ahead, Kirk.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love to talk a little football a little bit because I mentioned to you earlier that, you know, my folks are from Alabama.
Yeah.
So, you know, brother, Tuscaloosa is the place to be.
Birmingham?
On Saturday, Tuscaloosa. You could tell who he ain't been watching. Nah, Tuskegee is the football team.
Montgomery.
Yeah, Alabama State. That's it.
My mother graduated from Alabama State. That's right.
The Hornets.
However, as a young lad spending some days in Alabama, I still remember Paul Bear Bryant standing on the sidelines of the Alabama Crimson Tide, wearing that hat.
Yep.
Alabama just putting it down. Man, listen, I know the SEC is like another world unto itself. What kind of exposure are your high school guys getting, you know, with these schools in the SEC? I mean, look, I think that you take Mississippi State, Auburn, Tennessee, Missouri, put them in other conferences, they're like, you'll probably be number one, right? So,
right.
So how did that happen, man? You know, how does a region craft such a strong brand when it comes to football as such?
It comes to coaching. That's really what it comes to, coaching. His connections, on how well connected here. We went through a season where we had some coaches that wasn't well connected. So kids that should have had exposure in past in the area where we live at didn't get that, because that's really how that connection goes through. If they have that respect for that coach and know that kind of program he has, what kind of winning establishment that he has wherever he's at, they then call him and actually ask him, "You got any guys that we need to look at?" And type thing. So it's really more on that coaching staff, their connections, and how the more respected the coach is, the more attention the team gets.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever see Jerry Rice play back in the day at Mississippi Valley State?
TV. I didn't get to see him
Okay.
in person, but TV and everything back then.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that, and I'm gonna drop the mic and give it back to Perk. Because there's some bad boys down there, man. I remember, man, when I was at Bishop, right? It was like the whole football team was made up of guys basically from 2 states, from Pennsylvania and from Florida, right?
Yeah.
They was going up grabbing those guys at a Algonquin, I think, Algonquin, Pennsylvania, or where Bernie Kosar played high school ball at. Well, Joe Montana played high school ball at.
Right. So it's that tradition.
Right. And then like in South Florida, and it was like them dudes was ballers, dude.
Yeah. We say I came along. Jerry's older than me. I came along during the Steve McNair era. So,
okay.
I watched him in college and everything play. I went to Jackson State. We actually same age. I went to Jackson State. He went to Alcorn. So I got to watch him whoop up on us.
Seriously, you got to see Aaron McNair play ball.
Aaron McNair.
Y'all played against him. How much mercy did he have on y'all? That's all I want to know.
Absolutely none.
He said absolutely none.
Absolutely none. Listen. Because actually we joke about it all the time because the guy that I pointed out was the defensive coordinator. He went to Alcorn and I was at State. So, we're always joking around, and we actually were talking about it earlier last week on watching him on how he was so naturally fast that it actually looked like everybody else was running and he was jogging. That freshman year, we were both freshmen and he was there, and we played at Jackson at the vet, and he looked like he was just moving motionless and just looked like wasn't nobody just even trying to grab him, but he was actually naturally that fast.
Wow.
I got a question from my buddy. He's from Vicksburg, Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
He says, how is Jackson State now that Dion is there?
Well, they're getting a lot of publicity. They're getting that. The COVID helped him at this moment. I think right now, my oldest son has graduated from Jackson State, but he's still the mascot there at Jackson State. He's Sonny the Tiger, and he told me that 6 of the games already is already signed with ESPN to be broadcast. It's because
that's awesome, man.
Because they moved the SWAC to the spring.
Okay.
So no football is going on but them.
Okay.
So he gets great exposure. He's had a couple of transfers already. One of the top players we had here a year ago that went to Missouri. He's already was on the news the other day saying he's transferring back to Jackson State to work with him. So he's going to get the stage that he needs to try to do the recruiting and stuff that he want. He's going to try to do in this first season of him being there with it being COVID, because now he's not competing with the Alabamas and the LSUs and the Ohio States and the Michigans. It's just SWAC that's going to be playing.
Yeah. That's tight, man.
Explain Dr. Mitchell, and then we're gonna let you go. Explain.
Oh, we're gonna let you go, man. No,
explain a halftime experience at a black college of football.
It's no other. It's no other experience like that, man. It is absolutely no other experience like and it's like no experience like at the SWAC. I've been to MEAC games and things such as that, but that SWAC just has a totally different vibe, a totally different feel to it. You got people that actually just come for halftime, and then they
talk about it.
Yeah, then they're gonna stay for the fifth quarter. They gonna see, and it's just as much talk about
see the dancing girls, man. They be getting down, boy.
It's just as
I'm
much
sorry, the
talk
flag
about
girls with
who won halftime as it is, or who won the game.
That's right.
Now, what's the fifth quarter? You said fifth quarter.
Fifth quarter is that after the game is over,
showdown.
They played their alma maters with both teams. Then it becomes back and forth between the two bands in the stand playing out their playbook.
Yep. So I went to Bishop, right? Of course.
Yes.
And Bishop sorry football team, of course, right? Just say of course, but it was sorry, right? However, at the time I went to school there, Prairie View A&M had the longest losing streak in the whole world. I said the whole world, bro.
The whole world.
But still, guess what? Everybody came out to that game to do what? To see the marching bands play at halftime, brother.
Now, strange you missing Prairie View. Prairie View never came to Jackson except for the last few years.
Really?
They never went to Jackson. When I was in college, some of us actually thought they didn't even have a band, because we never had seen them, because that was before, the Battle of the Bands came out after Drumline and all of that. The first time I saw Prairie View's band was at the very first Honda Battle of the Bands they did in Atlanta. We went, I took my kids there, me and my wife and one of my deacons and his family. We went to the Battle of the Band, and Prairie View was there. That was the first time I ever saw that they had a band, and I was blown away.
Wow. Yeah, that's a no, man. I mean, that's a great question, Perk.
I got another question.
You've never been to like a halftime show?
Man,
what?
Nah, won't nobody invite me to do no revivals in the South, Doc. So when I get a revival,
well, we just got to bring you to the South so you can just go to the game. You ain't got.
I've been to Georgia. I've been to Atlanta. I've been to Georgia. I've been to Augusta. Ran citywides in Augusta, and preached in Macon. But the 404. But here's my other question: Bayou Classic.
Mm-hmm.
What is that about? What is that like?
I've never been to Bayou Classic.
Okay,
Southern and Grambling, right?
That Southern Grambling experience is like it's again SWAC. There's like no other. You have just super rivalries in the SWAC that is just a huge thing. I was just, of course, all corn, so right. It's just a huge thing with the SWAC that you got classics. And the classics is really just the two teams that play each other every year. That's just how big it is.
Yeah, my mother, she lived in Montgomery, and she told me about that. I think it was that the game that's in Birmingham.
Yeah, Magic City Classic.
Yeah, where Huey Hammonds. Yeah.
I have a member that he played for Alabama State when he was in college, and his senior year. I went to the Magic City Classic to see him.
She said it's nothing. I mean, nothing like it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got to tell my mama that Mama, they mentioned Alabama State 2 times on the show tonight. That's what she with my daddy at. My daddy from Montgomery, and so she was from Mobile. That's where they actually met, man, at Alabama State, man. So can I ask another late night question?
Go ahead, man.
Go ahead, Robin.
No, I'm not gonna do it, man. I got to look, Doc. Have there ever been any time where you just had to go like, "Why do that?"
No comment. No comment.
Next question.
Next question.
No comment.
Doc, certainly not at late night.
No comment.
I'm praying for. I'm praying for you, Reverend.
Everybody has done a wonderful job. Has done a wonderful job.
That's a very presidential answer.
It is. It is so politically correct. I guess you just had to be there, huh?
Now listen. I'll be in the audience, Doc. They're you. They died that others might live, Doc.
How others received it has nothing to do with me. From my perspective, they all did a wonderful job. Everybody's done.
So you wipe your hand. You find no fault. He find no
your
fault.
Thank you letter in your check. You have a great one here.
Well, man, we appreciate you, Dr. Mitchell, definitely for having somebody from the state of California on your staff. Bishop Greg Payton, we appreciate having some California representation. You know,
Oakland, California.
Oakland, California, absolutely, Bay Area. So we appreciate that, and we definitely pray God's blessings be upon you, your family, your ministry, as you continue to recover. It's been a joy to have you on the Perk and Kirk show, and we go try to get you on the other show real soon if your schedule permits.
Yeah,
I'd be happy.
It's called the light. You see, we got it. It's called the light.
If y'all kicking out with Lenny Williams, I don't know if I need to be on.
Oh! You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah. Now, listen. I do have one more question before we sign off. And now you don't have to answer, but I mean, we interview people. We ask questions that people want to know.
Yeah, that's why I asked that last question.
So mine is not that bad. It's not even close, Doc.
Oh, my question is bad. Oh, that's messed up. I feel disappointed.
Your question is messy. You need to pray.
Oh, I get the Shane Scott Award tonight.
Yep, you get it tonight.
All right, I get the Shane Scott Award tonight.
You have a unique way of closing.
Mm-hmm.
And when it gets good to you, you have this thing where you step back, you rub your feet, then you come back and kill us again. What to the listening audience, the 26 that's still listening, watching us, is where did it start? Where did you get it from? Is just something that just happened? What is it?
I did it my first sermon, been doing it ever since.
You step back, take like 3 steps, rub the carpet or whatever, and go back.
I did it first sermon, been doing it ever since.
Been doing it ever since.
Yeah.
27 years strong.
Yep.
Wow. I saw you preach for McKisnick one time. I think Tate was there, and you had on a jersey. And dude, I said, he was wearing them out, Kurt. He was wearing them out in Jacksonville. Dude, he stepped back and he rubbed his feet. Wow. I think it's 3 times. He go, whoop, whoop, whoop.
I've never counted either. I don't know.
And boy, he came back to that mic and just night, huh? Night. Well, man,
it's clear, man, that the Lord has given you an awesome gift.
Absolutely.
And you are that preacher that it's clear that you're that preacher that W.E.B. Du Bois talked about when he wrote about Black folks. When he went to his first revival, right? He went to a revival in Atlanta, right? And he couldn't believe it. And at that point, he said the most unique personality that the American soil has ever produced has been that of the Black Baptist preacher.
My.
Right.
Oh.
The most original character that the United States has ever produced has been the Black Baptist preacher, man. And you have that gift, man. And I wish you well. I'm glad that you're doing well. Right.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm gonna catch it. Now I'm a member of PNBC. Right.
What is that?
You're not gonna hold that against me, are you?
No. No comment again. No comment.
He said no comment again.
No comment. Oh man, I'm gonna tell A Wayne unless you said that.
That great brothers, some great brothers.
Hey, look,
brothers.
hey, Mississippi Mitchell, ain't gonna be no comments now. Let that be your last comment.
He said yes, it is, because he about to get off the show. But Pastor Mitchell, if you could just do one thing for us, if you could just tell us that you had a great time on the Perk and Kurt show.
I did, man. I appreciate you for the invitation. I enjoyed it to the fullest. Humbled by the invitation.
Great.
Man, we want to hear you say it, man. We want to hear you say it. What's your favorite show?
Oh yeah. There it is.
What is it? The Light?
No, the Perk and Kurt show.
The Perk and Kurt.
I love you. I love him, dude. I love him. Dude, no wonder you the man. No wonder you the man. He said, what, the light?
That'll work.
I love it, man. It's good. That works too. Man. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. That's good. That's what's up.
All right, well, have a good night. Give our regards to your wife.
Tell your wife we said thank you so much.
Thank you.
And, I definitely will. Definitely will.
And we'll be in contact with you soon to get you on the light. Perk and Kurt.
Yeah.
Right.
Get
Sounds good.
All right.
Oakland. Get you to Oakland.
Yeah, we got to get you to Oakland. We got to get you to Oakland. Our BMU president, our Baptist ministers president, who was on tonight. We need to get you. Get you to Oakland.
Yeah, that's top. We like.
Happy to, man. Be happy to.
Come on through.
We're gonna make it happen, brother.
For sure.
All right, sounds good, brother.
Oh, let me do this real quick while I'm thinking about it.
Man, plug the show.
He did mention, I want, because he's a good friend of mine, and I want to plug what he got going on. Adolph is one of my boys, and he's been on the show. We want to encourage people to check that out. That's coming up. That's the conference that Dr. Mitchell was talking about, the Inheritance Conference. You can register online at www.thebga.net. This is what he was referring to. And so we look forward to supporting our brother John Adolph in Beaumont, Texas, virtually. Great lineup. You see the awesome people that'll be there. And there's something he does every year. And it'll be you see
he got some number one stunners in there, brother.
My boy Briannis is there, Tolan is there. Hey, Chapman, Cosby, Freddie,
Dr. Wade,
Melvin Wade, and Dennis Jones, the whole crew. So we're grateful to that. And then we want to make sure that people support us on the light. I can't find the flyer because I'm trying to find it at this moment, but
that's the fried chicken.
What?
I saw a picture of some food, man. I was like,
but we will be on 3:00 next Sunday on KDYA, the light. So with that said, man, have a great evening, Dr. Mitchell, and thank you again for giving us your time tonight. And we look forward to talking to you in the near future.
All right, brothers, y'all take care.
Okay.
All right, man. Love you, man. Have a great evening, man.
All right, love y'all too.
Right. Blessings on you.